Hello all, and welcome to tonight's whiskey review. Tonight, we will be reviewing something that virtually everyone knows already. Well, anyone who already drinks whiskey knows. And that is Jameson Irish whiskey. It and Bushmills are the best known. There are some other lesser known ones. But basically, they're the big two. This is one of the big two. Probably the most popular Irish whiskey in the world. So, let's read the back, shall we? John Jameson founded his distillery in Dublin in 1780 to realize his ambition of making the highest quality whiskey. Today, Jameson is still made in a single distillery using rich pot still whiskey from malted and unmalted barley and the finest grain whiskey, both distilled 3 times for smoothness. So, this isn't bad, but it's very, how should I say it? It's not challenging to the palate. And for that reason, it's a good whiskey to start with, if you're not someone who's ever had a whiskey before. So, most people have this in cocktails, like Irish Car Bomb, or On the Rocks. Me, knowing myself, we're going to be reviewing it straight and with a dash of cold water today. Kind of a large dash, but it's probably good to form. So this is 40% ABV, or 80 proof. Triple distilled means that it's been distilled 3 times. It's been through the distilling pot 3 times as opposed to twice, which is the case for most other whiskeys, most notably Scotch whiskey. And what that does is it removes more of the impurities, but it also removes a bit more of the unique taste. So it's kind of a trade-off, if you will. Excuse me. Post-nasal drip. So, it's a lovely color. Nice little goldenrod color. Straight, you get sort of fruitiness and grain. Hints of oak. Is definitely sweet smelling. But not very multi-dimensional. Let's go and see if adding the water did anything to it. It definitely has a much softer, rounder touch to it now. Honey. Touch of cherries, perhaps. Graininess. I would say almost a paperiness to it. Again, still not very distinct, not very... I'm saying these, but it's more impressions as opposed to, wow, it's really there. Mostly get sweetness. A nicely, slightly honeyed finish. Hints of oakiness in the finish, just slight hints. Sweet in the front. Sweet all the way through, to tell the truth. Strong graininess in the mid-palate. Drink's a bit warm, but not completely hot. It's probably more due to the subdued tastes inside that the alcohol kind of pops out a bit more, but it's actually not that strongly alcoholic tasting. Nicely creamy mouthfeel. Well, not really creamy, more buttery, just a tad. But overall, graininess and the sort of sweetness, which is kind of reminiscent of honey, but not super honeyed, is a dominant taste throughout the most of it, while a kind of oaken, slightly bitter finish in the end. Let's try it with a dash of water. Alcohol's a bit more tame, so you get more of the flavor notes. But it's pretty much the same flavor notes that you got there from before. It's just they stand out a little bit better. The grain is very distinct now. The vanilla aspects of the oak kind of stand out now in the mid palate. They weren't really there before. And that sort of oakenness is still lingering in the finish, along with the bitterness. No real off notes. I find the bitterness a little bit off-putting, but that's just me, and I find that's more because of the lack of other tastes to kind of balance it out in the finish. That, you know, you get that sort of strong oakenness without not much in the way of front for it, other than the sweetness. Not really much to challenge the palate, but again, I'm going to emphasize, not really much offensive here. There's no medicinal taste, no overly alcoholic taste. All in all, it's not much to think about. It's there. It's drinkable. If you're in a cheap bar, it's something to have on the rocks that you know it's not going to go and be revolting. And it's on the affordable side of it too, at about 20 bucks a bottle. Makes probably a very good blank palate to make cocktails on when you're looking to highlight more of the cocktail's taste essences, as it just provides a sort of flat whiskey backbone. In other words, graininess. Will I drink this again? Of course I will, because it's cheap, it's ubiquitous. You know, you go into any Irish pub and you'll find it there and you'll drink it. Or at least I will. So, Jameson's. If you haven't tried whiskey, it's definitely one to go and start with to see if this is a path worth going down on. If that's the case. Or if you're like me and everyone else who drinks whiskey, you've already had this and you probably likely will have it again. No matter if you love it or hate it. In my case, it's there. I'm going to pretty much leave it at that. It's there, I'll drink it, and I'll appreciate it for what it is. That's your whiskey review for tonight, folks. Slante, or however they pronounce that in Irish.